Hello YouTube, this is Prodigious here. And today we have a twofer. I have not one but two decks that you might have heard some whisperings of in terms of being a thing. And we're going to go over my hot take on them. We have what I like to call warping bonds. These decks try to warp from a rookie to a mega form of level 6 and 7 if need be. And along the way, they will go ahead and just swing out as rookies, champions, or ultimates, just doing what they do best. Security checks aplenty, or making multiple attacks. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for the first deck, we're going to look at the Agumon Warping Bond. And I recommend Garurumon from BT14 as your to-go-to egg. It has your turn once per turn. When a card is removed from an opponent's security stack, draw a card. Now on to the rest of the deck itself. I'm running 4 copies of Agumon from BT14. It digivolves from a Garurumon for 0. As well as a start of your main phase, if you have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name, this Digimon may digivolve into a Greymon in your hand without paying the cost. It also has the inheritable. Your turn. While this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in name, it gets plus 2000 DP. Next, I'm also running 4 copies of Agumon from BT12. Pardon me. He digivolves from a Garurumon for 0. He also has the on-play of reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with Greymon or Omnimon in its name, and 1 Tamer card with Tai Kamiya in its name among them to your hand, and place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then it has the inheritable. All turns, while this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, it gets 1000 DP. Next, I'm also running 2 copies of BT6 Agumon, because it wouldn't be a warping bond deck unless we run this guy. He has all turns once per turn. When you play a tamer with Tai Kamiya in his name, gain a memory, as well as the inheritable. Your turn, while this Digimon is Agumon Bond of Bravery, it gains security attack plus 1. Then I'm also sporting 2 copies of Agumon from EX1. No effect on him, but he does have an inheritable of when attacking, once per turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Tamer card or 1 Digimon card with Agumon in its name among them to your hand, and place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Alright, now on to our champions. I'm running 3 copies of Greymon from BT5. He has when digivolving. If this Digimon has Agumon in its name, and its Digivolution cards, gain 1 memory. While this Digimon has Omnimon or Greymon, other than Doro Gray, Burning Gray, or Dex Doro Gray, in its name, it gets plus 2000 DP. Then we have 3 copies of BT14 Greymon. He can Digivolve from a level 3 with Agumon in its name for a cost of 2. When attacking, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. Then, if you have a tamer with Taikami in its name, gain 1 memory. He has the inheritable of your turn. While this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, it gets plus 2000 DP. Then I'm running 4 copies of Promo Greymon P-010, but it's also from the Resurgence Booster series, the reprint set. Its card number name from that set is RB1-007. I try to make sure I list the name of each card from their respective sets versus just saying the same card name over and over. So that way you know exactly which ones I'm running, especially if you happen to be mainly listening versus watching. So, anyway, this guy, what he does is your turn while Agumon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, it gains security attack plus 1. And then our last rookies, because we do have some tamers that never suspend, which means they make great ideal finishers to evo into Agunimons. Now on to our ultimates. We are actually running 4 copies of BT14 Skull Greymon. He can Digivolve from a level 4 with Greymon in its name for a cost of 3. Otherwise, he has, when Digivolving, by trashing 1 card in your hand, delete one of your Digimon with the lowest level and one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. It also has on deletion. You may play 1 Agumon from your trash without paying the cost. If you have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name, that Digimon gains Rush for the turn. So as you've already seen, we're playing a bunch of Agumons, we're playing some Greymons. We have the ability to DP boost and have security attack. So now, with this guy, what he's offering us is, when we Digivolve into him, he's going to be mainly something that we play for setting up another combo or for hopefully eliminating a pesky target. Because when you Digivolve, and you choose to activate that effect by trashing a card in your hand, you're going to delete something of yours and something of your opponent's. If you choose to activate that effect, and this is the only guy on the field, he's going to delete himself, which will then in turn activate his on deletion effect. I'm also running 2 copies of MetalGarurumon Ace. And him being an Ace card means he has the Hand Counterblast Digivolve effect, of where you can Digivolve him for free during your opponent's turn, as long as you have a level 4. Or in this case, a level 4 with Greymon in name. Now, when you do this, you're going to trigger its on-play when Digivolving effect. It has delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP. This is also an Ace Digimon, which means it does have overflow, which means if it leaves the battle area or leaves being underneath another card and goes to another area, aka to your security, or to your trash, or to bottom of deck, or back to hand, overflow will trigger, and that means you will lose 3 memory. But he makes a great target for our next and last ultimate for the deck. We are running 2 copies of MetalGarurumon X Antibody. What he does is when Digivolving, this Digimon gains security attack plus 1 until the end of your opponent's turn. Then if this Digimon has MetalGarurumon or X Antibody in its Digivolution cards, this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. he also digivolves on top of a MetalGarurumon for 0. So ideally, you could have a great combo of where you have a Greymon out, your opponent swings, and as long as nothing is deleting that Digimon during their when attack effects, you can blast evolve into this for free. Then following turn, evolve into MetalGarurumon X Antibody, also for free. But that is it for the Ultimates. Now on to our Megas. I'm running 3 copies of WarGreymon. Oh, and by the way, the MetalGarurumon X Antibody is from BT9, just in case I did not mention. WarGreymon here is from BT14, and he has the following. He can digivolve from a level 5 with Greymon in its name for a cost of 4. He also says on there that he can basically digivolve while you have a Tai Kamiya. Let me read it exactly. While you have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name and your opponent has a Digimon with 10,000 DP or more, one of your Agumon may digivolve into this card in your hand for a digivolution cost of 4, ignoring the digivolution requirements. So he can go ahead and just warp straight from an Agumon. And as we just now saw with our SkullGreymon, there might be a scenario of where we have used SkullGreymon's on deletion effect to bring back a Agumon. It has Rush, and our opponent still has something that has 10,000 DP or more. So guess what? Now we can just Evo straight from Agumon into this for just a cost of 4. On top of that, he has, when digivolving, this Digimon gains Raid for the turn, and then it may attack. Now, in case you don't know, Raid basically says this Digimon can choose to switch to attack target mid-attack. Instead of hitting the opponent's security, it'll swing into the opponent's unsuspended strongest DP Digimon. Now, on top of that, we have when attacking, if you have a tamer, this Digimon gains security attack +1 and piercing. So you combine all that together, you have something that can swing into an opponent's unsuspended strongest Digimon. It has security attack +1 and piercing. So it's going to do an extra check when it does attack. And if you choose the raid effect, you're going to be able to swing into your opponent's Digimon, potentially kill it. And in the process, because you have piercing, you're going to still do that check. Or should I say 2 checks. Now our next mega for this deck is the other part of the theme. We are running Agumon Bond of Bravery. In my opinion, he should have been Agumon Bond of Courage, but anyway. So what he brings to the table is he's a level 7, which means he can Evo on top of our WarGreymon, but through our tamer, we will have the ability to actually Evo our rookie into this. And we'll get to that in just a moment. He has, when attacking, if you have a tamer in play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP or less, as well as your turn once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon is deleted, trash the top card of their security stack. Now we combine that with the ability of our tamer here. And both this tamer and the Agumon Bond of Bravery came from BT6, in case you're wondering. Now what Tai Kamiya does is your turn, when one of your Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name moves from the breeding area to the battle area, you gain a memory and trigger draw a card. As well as main, once per turn, digivolve your Agumon into one Agumon Bond of Bravery in your hand for its digivolution cost, ignoring its level. If you do, trash the top 2 cards of your security stack. Then, if you have one or more security cards, delete that Digimon at the end of turn. So ideally, you will rather naturally Digivolve this on top of your WarGreymon, or if it came down to it, you would trigger this Tai Kamiya's warping ability to go into Bond of Bravery at the right moment, which would ideally be when you're already down to only 2 security or less. That way when you warp, it'll check to see if you have any security left, and if you don't, you get to keep your Bond of Bravery. Now, as for the rest of the deck, it is going to be mainly options from here on out. We got 3 copies of Crimson Blaze. This card says reduce its memory cost in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has in play. As well as main effect, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. As well as your opponent cannot play Digimon by effects until the end of their next turn. Security effect is to activate the main effect. We are running this because we have a bunch of single target removal, especially something big once we get to Bond of Bravery. But we don't really have anything that can delete multiple things. Then I'm running not 1 but 2 copies of Lightning Joust. This card is main, one of your Digimon gets plus 2,000 DP for the turn. Then, if the number of cards in your security stack is less than or equal to your opponent's, one of your Digimon gets security attack plus 1. Security effect is to add this card to your hand. Then I'm running 1 copy of Flame Memory Boost. What it does is when you play it, one of your Digimon gets security attack plus 1 for the turn, then this card goes to the battle area. Then it can activate its main delay effect at a later future turn to just pop it and gain 2 memory. Security effect is to just put it into the battle area. And then last, we have Dragon of Courage. This card says while you have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name, you may ignore this card's color requirements, but that's not an issue here. It has main by placing 1 Greymon and 1 MetalGarurumon from your trash as one of your Agumon's bottom Digivolution cards. That Digimon may Digivolve into a WarGreymon in your hand without paying the cost, ignoring the Digivolution requirements. Security effect is you may play 1 Agumon from your hand or trash without paying the cost, then add this card to your hand. Now, you might be wondering, why are we running this when we already have a WarGreymon that can warp for us? Well, 2 reasons. Technically 3. But 1 is that warping WarGreymon has a condition that has to be met first of you having an opponent that has a 10,000 DP or more Digimon. This bypasses that. You don't have to have anything. All you have to have is an Agumon out, and then have a Greymon and MetalGarurumon in your trash, as well as a WarGreymon in hand. Second, this card will allow you to not only Digivolve, or Warp Digivolve I should say, but it will basically give you inheritables, whereas the other way does not. So that means you can give yourself security attack plus, you could give yourself plus 2,000 DP, and of course there's only 1 MetalGarurumon target in this deck, but you yourselves could probably swap out the Ace Digimon and go with another version of just MetalGarurumon to run in this deck, and therefore give it a better inheritable and not have to run the Ace. But yes, that is our first of the 2 decks. And this is Agumon plus the Warping Greymon, so I call it Warping Agumon. Now on to our next deck. And I'm going to say, out of all the different eggs you could run, I'm going to say you should probably try running the Sunamon from BT5, which has, while this Digimon has Garuru or Omnimon in its name, it gets 1000 DP. We are running 4 copies of BT14 or 15, pardon me. Gabumon Digivolves from Sunamon for 0. It has start of your main phase. One of your Digimon gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. Then if you have a tamer with Mat Ashita in its name, draw 1. As well as the inheritable as draw 1 card when attacking once per turn. I'm also running 4 copies of Star Deck 8 Gabumon. No effect on him, but he does have the inheritable all turns. While you have 8 or more cards in your hand, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. Next, I'm also running 2 copies of EX1 Gabumon. When attacking once per turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Tamer card or 1 Digimon card with Gabumon in its name. Among them, place them in your hand, and the rest goes to the bottom of your deck in any order. And then last, I'm running 2 copies of Gabumon from BT6. He has all turns, once per turn. When you play a Tamer with Mat Ashita in its name, gain a memory. Inheritable is when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon is Gabumon Bond of Friendship, you may unsuspend it. So these decks will pretty much be playing a lot similar in terms of their lineups. We have Garurumon from BT5. It has when Digivolving. If this Digimon has Gabumon in its Digivolution cards, gain a memory, as well as inheritable all turns. While this Digimon has Garuru or Omnimon in its name, it gains 1000. Then I'm running 3 copies of Garurumon from BT15. Digivolves from a Gabumon in name for a cost of 2. When Digivolving, if you have a Tamer with Mat Ashita in its name, draw 1. If you don't have a Tamer with Mat Ashita in its name, you may play 1 in its name from your hand with the play cost reduced by 3. Also has the inheritable when attacking once per turn, draw a card. And then we're running 4 copies of Starter Deck 16 Garurumon. Now, yes, this is purple, but it has the effect on there saying it can Digivolve from a level 3 with Gabumon in its name for a cost of 2. It's not going to look at the color. It's going to look for Gabumon with that effect. He has security effect. You may play 1 Gabumon or 1 Tamer card with Mat Ashita in its name from your hand or trash without paying the cost. As well as when Digivolving, draw 1 card, then trash 1 card. Inheritable, when attacking once per turn, draw 1, trash 1. And then last, just like the other deck, we are running 2 copies of Lobomons from BT4 as just a quick hybrid that we can evo on top of our Tamers since they never suspend for anything, and we can use them as potential finishers. Now onto the ultimates for this deck. I am running 2 copies of WarGreymon Ace. He can Digivolve from a Garurumon in name for a cost of 3, so he can even evo on top of our purple one. He has hand Counterblast Digivolve, just like the last one we saw. It's an ace, so it can do that. It has on play when Digivolving, draw 1. Then if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, trash 1 card. All turns once per turn. When one of your Digimon's effects adds cards to your hand, One of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers can't suspend until the end of their turn. So again, it has the overflow, which you need to be mindful of, but it can blast Digivolve, which means it can come into play or Evo onto free. Plus, it has that little bit of some protection / manipulation when it comes to you drawing cards and then making sure that something of theirs can't suspend. And then because it's limit 1 per deck, we are going to run 1 copy of WarGreymon, the promo P-008. It has, when attacking, once per turn, if Garurumon is his Digimon's Digivolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon. As well as the inheritable, your turn, while you have 8 or more cards in your hand, this Digimon gains Security Attack +1. Then I have 4 copies of WarGreymon from Starter Deck 16. Again, it may be purple, but it does have the text saying it can Digivolve from a level 4 with Garurumon in its name for a cost of 3, so color's not an issue there. It has, when attacking once per turn by trashing 1 card in your hand, unsuspend this Digimon. Now, this current copy in front of you, it has an errata, and there is a way to actually get the proper text version, but this is just a misprint that came in the decks initially. Its inheritable is supposed to read, when attacking once per turn by trashing 1 card in your hand, you can delete 1 level 4 or lower opponent's Digimon. This one reads, when attacking once per turn by trashing 1 card in your hand, unsuspend this Digimon, which is the same text it has already on it for its main effect. Thus, it's a misprint. So keep in mind that when you play this, it will actually have the inheritable of trashing a card when attacking to delete a level 4 or lower. Then, last but not least for the Ultimates, I'm running 2 copies of WarGreymon X Antibody from BT9. It can Digivolve from WarGreymon in name, or should I say just WarGreymon, for 0. When Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. Then if WarGreymon or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. So as you can see, we have a lot of drawing. We have some DP boosting, but mainly we do have a couple of effects there that allow us to unsuspend, and that's what Garurumon does. If Greymon likes to attack with Security Attack Plus while doing DP boosting, Garuru likes to do a little bit of some DP boosting, but just do a bunch of unsuspending and attacking again. And on that note, we will now reach the peak, and that is 3 copies of MetalGarurumon from BT15. And much similar to WarGreymon, he has the whole warping mechanic of where if the opponent has a Digimon with 10,000 DP or more, and you have a Gabumon, he can warp for only a cost of 4, ignoring the other requirements. He has Evade, and I don't have the full text in front of me, but I believe Evade, the way it reads, and I could be mistaken. If I am, feel free to point it out. But basically, if an effect were to target this, to remove it from the field, aka destroy it, you can suspend this Digimon in order to prevent it. On top of that, it has, when Digivolving, 3 of your opponent's Digimon and Tamers can't suspend until the end of the turn, as well as all turns once per turn. When this Digimon becomes suspended, you may unsuspend it. So you can use him to either get multiple attacks in along with his protection, or you can use it in a combination of the two. Like, say you swing, use the effect to unsuspend him, and now he's good to go to just stand there in case your opponent tries to remove him with Evade. Or you can choose to just go all aggro, swing, unsuspend, swing. Now on to the other half of the combination. We're running 3 copies of Gabumon Bond of Friendship. And of course, that means we're also running 4 copies of Matashita, again from BT6. And Matashita basically offers the same thing as we saw with the Tai, but this time it's leaning towards the Gabumon. Now, Gabumon Bond of Friendship here has, when attacking once per turn, if you have a tamer in play, you may unsuspend this Digimon. He has, when attacking, return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. Trash all the Digivolution cards of that Digimon. So again, just more constant unsuspending and swinging again, and thanks to our tamer, we have a means, if need be, to warp. Just remember to do that at the right time, mainly when you already have 2 or less security and you just need to go ahead and go all in. Last but not least, let's look at the option cards. I'm running 3 copies of Howling Memory Boost. What this card does is you play it, trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon, then one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then place this card in the battle area, and then you can activate the main delay effect and pop it on a later turn to gain 2 memory. Security effect is to just put it in the battle area. Then I have 2 copies of Ice Statue. When you would use this card, if you have a blue tamer in play, reduce the cost by 1. And it has trash top 3 Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to its owner's hand. Security effect is to activate the main effect. And then like the other deck, last but not least, we are running Wolf of Friendship because again, this offers the security effect of being able to play a Gabumon from hand or trash without paying the cost, then add this card to your hand, and then playing this over just trying to straight up play the MetalGarurumon's warping effect is that this way gives you inheritables. But yes, that is it. That is our 2 variants of warping bonds. I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you might have some tweaks you might do of your own if you were to play this. If so, feel free to comment down below and tell me what you would do different. If you are already playing this, again, same thing. Let me know how it plays for you. I really want to know. Until next time, this has been Prodigious.